Hey, 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 tucheze sasa.
Up, my good people, how you doing today? Let me ask you a question, or let me ask you something before we start. Something that will keep you thinking as we go on with this conversation. What if some of the advice you've been given about raising a bilingual kid is actually wrong? What if speaking two languages does not confuse your child? What if your child mixing English and Swahili is not the problem? What if you don't need to make your child 50% English and 50% Swahili for them to become bilingual? So, today we are going to look at five things research actually tell us about raising bilingual children. And I especially want you to stay with me until number five because this one might really change the way you think about teaching your children, you know, teaching your children a second language. I am not going to give you my opinion today. No, I am not going to do that today. We are going to look at what researchers say, you know, and maybe look at, the language speech experts, what they actually say. And then I am going to show you what you need to do with that information at home, you as a parent who is raising a bilingual child or bilingual children. So, if you are raising a bilingual child, if you are trying to teach your child Swahili, or if you are a parent who has ever wondered, am I really doing the right thing? Uh-huh. Then this conversation is for you. Stay tuned till the end because all of us are going to be helped in one or in different ways. But before we even dive into today's research, tell me in the comment section, what languages are you raising your children or your child with? Uh-huh. As we go. You know, parents are afraid they'll confuse their children. Some parents also stop speaking their heritage language. Some actually feel guilty when their children answer in English when spoken to them in Swahili. Actually expect perfect Swahili, you know. Some think that if mixing languages means something is wrong. They think that if a child is mixing two languages or if a child is mixing the languages, that there is something wrong. And that's why I want to do something different today. Rather than telling you what I think, let's ask a better question. Let us ask ourselves the better question. What does research actually says? Because we have people who have done research around it and they have facts that are really going to help us in raising bilingual children without having to feel like you are confusing them, without having to feel guilty, without even thinking that there's something wrong when they are mixing these languages. All right, parents. So I want us to move slow, one by one, so that we get to understand some things here. Two languages will confuse a child. Let's start with this one, because I know this is one of the oldest fears parents have, that if I speak Swahili and English with my child, they are going to get confused. I know this is one of the things that the oldest thing that is a lot of parents have. But let me ask you a question. Have you ever been told that? Has someone ever told you that, oh, when you speak English and Swahili to your child, you are going to confuse them? Have you ever heard that before? Now, this is what research says. Research says that, it explains that research does not support the bilingualism itself confuses, causes confusion. No, it does not. Uh-huh. I want us to keep it practical. Let us look at this. A child says, Mama, I want water. And you decide to answer and say, Oh, you want Maggi? And then you say, Okay, let's get Maggi. Uh-huh. What do you think about that? So earlier on in my one of my live stream, we say that let us model the answers that they are giving us. Let us model let us model the language naturally into them. Okay. So if they mix that language, let us speak to them in this one target language that you want them to learn. So you can say, "Oh, unataka maji." You see, you are doing that naturally. It's not that you're teaching, but you're doing that naturally. So now the child will register that in his or her brain, and then the next time now they are going to ask for water, maybe they'll say, "Mama, nataka maji." See, so we try to model the language naturally. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that what I would want to ask actually right now. Would you correct your child's grammar every time they make mistake in English? Would you do that? Probably not. So why do we sometimes become, we try to monitor everything they say? So instead of doing that, let us try to model it naturally, and their brain would register that. And the next time they are going to ask for water, that is exactly what they are going to say. Uh-huh. That is research number one. Let us look at research number two. My child mixes languages, so they are confused. A lot of parents say that, oh, my baby confuses, mixes languages. So I feel like they are confused. No. Now, let us talk about something that most of the bilingual parents have actually seen. Let us look at this example. A child comes and say, Mama, nipe juice. Uh-huh. Where are my viatu? Nataka water. Uh-huh. Here is a question. If they do that, do you think that they are literally confused? Uh-huh. What do you think? When that happens, do you think that they are confused? You can answer that in the comment section and tell me, do you think that they are really confused or what is happening here? But let us see what it says. Research actually says that language mixing is part of the normal part of multilingual development. So, what are you supposed to do when you are having such? Okay. First, don't shame them, please. And actually, do not panic. As we said in the previous point, that model the language naturally. Let us model the language naturally when we see that. Uh-huh. So, for example, when the child says, Mama, nipe juice. Aha, you as a parent, you're supposed to ask, unataka juisi? Aha, je, unataka juisi? Aha. You see, when you are doing that, you're actually giving better inputs without making them feel like, speaking Swahili is difficult or embarrassing. So try to model it naturally. And when we do that, it is making them feel, it is making them feel okay. It is not going to make them feel like learning Swahili is difficult or it is actually embarrassing because my mama keeps on correcting me every moment I speak. Uh-huh. So what I'm trying to say that them mixing languages is not, they are not confused. Nah, mm-mm. They are not confused. Okay. So, meanwhile, as we continue with this beautiful research that have been done with beautiful researchers, uh, I want to share our codes. You can scan there and get to you can see the beautiful app that we are building as Tayari going to help bilingual children because it has amazing features that I know that most of the parents have been looking for. First of all, it has lesson of the day. It has Simba Nasema that we most of us know as Simon says. It also has Wimbo. After Wimbo, what else do we have? Oh, it also have mchezo. It has a game, an online activity that you get to interact with. And then lastly, it has Jibu Nyanya. Do you know what happens here? This is the most beautiful, or this is the most, do I say, important feature in that app where your bilingual children get to communicate with Nyanya. Nyanya asks you a question and you also answer her. You have the opportunity to, click on the mic and speak. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And you keep on having conversation with Nyanya over and over and over again. And I know most of us parents, we want our kids to become, conversational. We want our kids to become um, what else is this? Yes, fluent. And this app is going to help with that, especially Jibunyanya part. So scan there, register, or if you have issues with registering, please do not forget to reach out because we are going to help you step by step. Okay? Let us see you there in our apps. Uh-huh. So let us continue with this beautiful discussion that we are having with researchers around the world, those who are talking about raising multilingual family, raising bilingual children and all that. uh Other parents think that should I stop speaking Swahili because my child needs English? Should you stop speaking Swahili because your child needs English? uh And let me tell you the truth. This one is closest to my heart because I've spoken to parents who genuinely believe that they are helping their children by abandoning their home language. Yeah, I feel like that is the best thing to do. You know, your child may actually need English for school, but Swahili may be the language of grandparents, aunties and uncles, family family stories, songs, culture, jokes, identity, connection. Uh-huh. Yes, true. Your child may actually need English for school, but they will need Swahili for, communicating with grandparents, communicating with uncles and aunties, family story times, songs, culture, jokes, identity, and connection. But I have a question. If you can speak English but can't communicate with their if your child can actually speak perfect English but cannot communicate with grandmother in the language she knows best, have you really achieved everything you ever wanted? Hmm? Have you really achieved everything that you ever wanted, really? No. Mm-mm. So instead of asking, how do I get my child to stop speaking English? Let's ask, how do I create more opportunities for Swahili? Yeah. Ask yourself, how do I create more opportunities for Swahili? And that is exactly where Tayari.live fits in. How does it fit in? Because at Tayari.live, we help you achieve exactly that. Uh-huh. We give language coaching. We help your child to, start up with language, taking our language classes, enabling them to start communicating step, or from beginner to intermediate. And we also hold Swahili camps during summers and December holidays, but we will talk about that soon. So, um, I don't know about you. What do you think about that? What do you really think about that which we have talked about? To use that to use that the QR, scan the QR code and look at our app, and I believe it's going to help you so much. Yeah. Let us look at point number. What point is it? What have we talked about? We have talked about should I stop speaking English because my child, should I stop speaking Swahili because my child needs English? That was point number three. And then we talked about my child mixes language, so they are confused. That is two. And then number one, we talked about two languages actually confuse my child. So the fourth point, so we are almost reaching to the fifth point that we say that stay because it is going to shock you, or it is going to open your mind and see what you have been missing out. So, point four that we are going to talk about is that my child needs to be 50-50. Most of the parents think like that. That they think that my child would literally need, 50% of English and 50% of Swahili. Uh-huh. Uh, but this is something I really want parents to stop putting pressure on themselves about. Yeah. Stop putting pressure on yourself. It needs to be 50-50. Uh-huh. You know, your child's language can have different strengths. Did you know that? Uh-huh. They maybe English is spoken in school, Swahili with grandparents, English with friends, Swahili family, English reading, Swahili songs and conversations. Yeah. So your child's language does not have to be, to be I saw this somewhere when I was doing research about this that it does not need to be identical twins. Funny, no? So they have different jobs. These languages have different jobs. Okay, so let us not. Give me a minute. I wanted to sneeze, but it has disappeared. Uh huh. Sorry about that. So what I was saying earlier is that these two languages they have different jobs, and as I say, they don't have to be identical twins. No. Uh huh. Now, you know, we have talked about four things, right? But I told you from the beginning that number five is one, I really want you to hear. And I know you are very curious. You want to know what is that point number five? What does point number five talk about? Uh-huh. Will it really help me in raising my bilingual children? Or is it something that I have been doing but has not been working? But let us look at this. You know, if you are a parent who has been struggling so much, you've been struggling to get, your child to actually use Swahili, don't leave now. This is because number five isn't really about choosing perfect bilingual method. No, it's not it. It is about, something much more important. What your child actually needs in order to learn. What does he or she needs in order to learn this particular language? Mhm. And this is where I think a lot of parents are approaching bilingualism backwards. Uh-huh. Now, let us talk about point five. Yay! I know we've all been waiting on this point five. So, this one, there is one perfect way to raise a bilingual child. Mhm. Here is the shocking part. There isn't one magical formula that every bilingual family has to follow. Yeah, that is true. There is no one magical formula that every bilingual family has to follow. No, there is no. Mhm. You know, one family may naturally use Swahili at home and English at school, and another may decide to use English most of the day and Swahili with grandparents. Uh-huh. One parent speaks Swahili and the other parent speaks English. Hmm? And then both parents, mix both languages naturally. Uh-huh. And then you ask yourself, am I really following the perfect bilingual parenting method? Now, instead of asking yourself that, maybe you can ask yourself, is my child getting meaningful opportunities to hear and use the language? I think that is what you should ask yourself. Instead of having to ask yourself, am I following the perfect bilingual family parenting? Ask yourself, is my child getting, or is my child getting or getting meaningful opportunities to hear and use the language? Are they? Uh-huh. So this is actually why, this is actually why we don't want children to learn Swahili only by memorizing. At Tayari Live, we don't want children to learn Swahili by, only by memorizing, the vocabulary list. No, we don't want that. We want to use Swahili. We want them singing. We want them playing. We want them to be in a position of actually answering questions. We want them to tell stories. Uh-huh. And we want them to start talking to people or to actually talk to people. That is what we want, and that is what we at Tayari Don't Live we are looking for too. Because language isn't a subject. Nah, language is something we actually do. For sure. This is actually something we do. It is not a subject. Language is something we do. Let us look at what research says. And I want us to jump into something, what you call the Tayari 5 minutes bilingual challenge. That's what I want us to jump into. And before you actually go today, I'm giving you one particular challenge. Yes, parents who are watching this live stream right now, I'm giving you one particular challenge. For the next 7 days, for the next 7 days, 5 minutes of Swahili every day. But remember, no worksheets. Just choose one activity. And let us see how you can do this. So, Monday, play toys in Swahili with your child. Tuesday, when you are taking bath, have these bath time vocabularies. On Wednesday, cook together with your children. And while you are doing all these activities, please use the relevant vocabularies that are there. On Thursday, read, read a picture book with your child. Definitely in Swahili. And then Friday, sing a Swahili song. Saturday, tell a simple Swahili story. And then Sunday, have a family Swahili conversation with your children. Then, actually, don't worry about making it perfect to be honest. Your goal here as a parent is interaction. Your goal as a parent is interaction. So, not perfection, just making sure that they are interacting. That is what you need. What do you think about that? Tell me in the comment section if this is something that you looking forward to be doing with your children for the next 7 days and see how it works. It's actually easy. Remember, this is a routine that already exists in. You're just moving, adding Swahili to it. What do you think? Uh-huh. So I'll keep on insisting. Your goal is interaction. Your goal is interaction, not perfection. Um, so let's go back to the 5 things we have covered today. Number one, we looked at two languages that don't automatically confuse your child. That is what we saw. Another thing is that mixing languages doesn't automatically mean that our children are confused. Then the third thing that we talked about is that you don't necessarily need to abandon your home language to support English. Nah, you don't need to do that. And then the fourth point is that bilingual doesn't mean or doesn't have to be 50-50. No, we said it is not identical twins. No. Every language has its own job. And then the fifth point, we say that there is no single magical formula or there is no magic formula, you know, you know, where we say that, meaningful language exposure and interaction, they actually matter. Yeah, that is what we have talked about today. You can tell us in the comment section what do you think about these five powerful things we have looked at. Is it something that you think is going to help you in your day to day? Okay, that is it something that will help you? And in the fifth point that we have said that taking the what do you call this 7 days to walk through and see what happens, where you're only looking forward for what do you call this interaction rather than perfection. Mhm. So again, um, if there's one thing you want to take home today in today's conversation, it is this one. Don't be afraid of your child's language. Give them the opportunity to live in them. Yeah, to live in them. Don't be it. Huh? And if you are raising a bilingual, if you're raising a bilingual children, section is the biggest, and maybe that's about that challenge next time we have our live stream. So write it in the comment section, and we are going to look at it and have a conversation about it the next time we are having this live stream. Thank you for joining in my live stream today. And I am I'm so grateful that you are here. Let's meet in my next stream. But again, don't forget to scan the QR Tayari app that Tayari.live is building, that is definitely going to help you in raising your bilingual children. And if you are not able to sign in and join into the app, please contact us and we will be in a position to guide you step by step in joining into the app and looking at the amazing features that are there. I was your host, Diana Mikubo. See you in my next stream. Kwaheri. Goodbye.